You have likely spent years trying to improve yourself. You have bought the planners, committed to the gym routines, and promised to stop overthinking. Yet, despite your best efforts, you often find yourself snapping back to the same old patterns. This cycle is exhausting because it feels like a failure of will. You look in the mirror and wonder why you cannot just force yourself to change. You feel stuck in a loop, repeating the same anxieties and mistakes, suspecting that you are simply broken. But psychology suggests that your inability to change is not a flaw in your character. It is actually a biological safety mechanism. You have been attempting self-improvement, when what you actually need is something far more radical: self-transformation. True transformation is not about optimizing who you already are. It is about structurally dismantling your old self to build a new one. It is a terrifying, messy, and biological process that requires you to rewire the very architecture of your mind. Before we continue to explore the psychology behind this, please take a moment to subscribe. It helps us build this community and brings more insights directly to you. Number 1, we must distinguish between horizontal and vertical development. Most of us chase self-improvement, which is a horizontal process. It is like installing a new app on your phone. You learn a new skill or habit, but the operating system remains the same. This distinction is vital because improvement merely makes your current mask more efficient. You might become a more organized workaholic or a fitter anxious person. You are adding new applications to an old, outdated interface that can no longer handle the load. Imagine you are trying to run high-speed software on a computer from the 1990s. No matter how many upgrades you buy, the system crashes. This is what happens when you try to layer new habits over an identity that fundamentally believes it is unworthy or unsafe. Self-transformation, however, is a vertical shift. It is upgrading the operating system itself. It requires a period of unfreezing where you dismantle your current identity structure. This feels dangerous, but it is the only way to expand your capacity to exist. Number 2, we must look at the shadow. Carl Jung, the father of analytical psychology, proposed that we all have a shadow. This is the reservoir of the unlived life, the parts of you that were repressed because they didn't fit your social mask. The mechanism here is repression. As a child, you learned that certain traits, perhaps your anger, your creativity, or your vulnerability, were unacceptable to your caregivers. To survive, you shoved these traits into the dark, where they now operate autonomously. Imagine you are at work, and a colleague's slight arrogance makes you irrationally furious. That visceral reaction is not about them. It is your shadow screaming. You are projecting your own repressed desire for power or recognition onto them. Acknowledging this does not make you a bad person. It makes you whole. Transformation requires integrating the shadow. When you accept that you are capable of aggression or selfishness, you stop projecting it. You reclaim that energy to use for your own protection and growth. Number 3 involves a concept called the subject-object shift. Robert Kegan, a developmental psychologist, argues that we are often subject to our emotions and beliefs. This means we are fused with them. We do not have anger. We are the anger. The mechanism of growth requires turning the subject into object. You must develop the mental complexity to step back and look at your lens rather than looking through it. You move from being defined by a feeling to observing it as something separate from you. Imagine the difference between drowning in a river and standing on the bank watching the water flow. In the first scenario, you are the emotion. In the second, you are the observer. This cognitive distance is the prerequisite for controlling your life. This shift validates your struggle because it explains why willpower fails. You cannot control something you are fused with. By practicing this shift, you are not suppressing your feelings. You are creating a space where you can choose how to respond to them. Number 4 takes us into the biology of change. Neuroplasticity. This is the brain's ability to physically reorganize itself. Every thought you think and action you take strengthens specific neural pathways, while those you ignore eventually wither away. The mechanism here is driven by the Hebbian principle. Neurons that fire together wire together. Conversely, a process called synaptic pruning eliminates weak connections. Your brain is a garden that is constantly growing what you tend and killing what you neglect. Imagine walking through a dense forest. The first time, you have to hack through the brambles with a machete. It is slow and painful. But if you walk that path every day for a month, the brambles die back, and a trail emerges. That is the physical reality of a new habit. This explains why the first few weeks of change feel physically painful. You are fighting against established biological infrastructure, but knowing this makes you powerful. The resistance isn't a sign you should stop. It is the feeling of your brain physically remodeling. Number 5 concerns the default mode network, or DMN. This is a large-scale network in your brain that activates when you are at rest. It is the neurological home of your ego, your autobiography, and that nagging voice that narrates your life. The mechanism of the DMN is self-referential processing. It stitches together your past memories and future anxieties to create a continuous story of who you are. However, an overactive DMN is linked to depression, rumination, and getting stuck in negative loops. Imagine you are lying in bed at 2 a.m., replaying a mistake you made 5 years ago. That is your DMN hijacking your consciousness. It traps you in a hall of mirrors where you are constantly obsessed with your own story and how others perceive you. Transformation requires quieting this network. Practices like meditation or flow states downregulate the DMN. When you silence the narrator, you dissolve the rigid story of the self, allowing you to experience the world directly and rewrite your identity without the baggage. Number 6 is the immunity to change. You might believe you are lazy, but Robert Kegan and Lisa Leahy suggest you actually have a sophisticated immune system that protects you. You are not resisting change. You are protecting a hidden commitment. The mechanism works through competing commitments. You may commit to being more open, but unconsciously, you are committed to not being hurt. Your brain views vulnerability as a threat to your survival, so it activates your immune system to block the change. Imagine you have 1 foot on the gas and 1 foot on the brake. You want to move forward, but your unconscious fear is slamming on the brakes to keep you safe. You aren't stalled because the engine is broken. You are stalled because you are terrified of the speed. Recognizing this is deeply validating. It means your resistance is actually a form of self-care gone wrong. To transform, you must identify the big assumption, the belief that change is dangerous, and gently test it to prove to your brain that you are safe. Number 7 explores the catalyst for change: post-traumatic growth. While we often seek change voluntarily, true transformation is frequently precipitated by a disorienting dilemma or trauma that shatters our current understanding of the world. The mechanism here is the shattering of the assumptive world. We all hold core schemas like "the world is safe" or "I am in control." When a crisis breaks these beliefs, the self-structure collapses, forcing a painful but necessary reconstruction. Imagine your life is a house you have built. Trauma is an earthquake that levels the foundation. It is devastating, but it also clears the ground. You are now forced to rebuild a house that is stronger, more flexible, and better suited to reality. This perspective reframes your suffering. The pain you feel during a crisis is not just damage. It is the labor pains of a new identity. You are not just bouncing back to who you were, you are bouncing forward to a more complex and resilient level of functioning. Number 8 focuses on identity-based habits. We often try to change our results without changing our identity. But according to self-perception theory, we observe our own behavior to determine who we are. We must act first, and the belief follows. The mechanism is cognitive dissonance. The brain hates inconsistency. If you believe you are a healthy person, but you eat junk food, your brain feels stress. To reduce this, you must align your actions with a new identity declaration. Imagine you are trying to quit smoking. If you say, "I am trying to quit," you are a smoker attempting a change. If you say, "I am not a smoker," you have shifted your identity. Every time you decline a cigarette, you cast a vote for this new person. This validates the idea of fake it until you make it. You are not being inauthentic. You are training your brain. By performing the actions of your future self today, you reduce the dissonance and slowly convince your DMN that this new version is the real you. Number 9 is the technique of active imagination. This Jungian method allows you to engage directly with the unconscious parts of your mind that are sabotaging you. It turns the monologue of worry into a productive dialogue. The mechanism involves lowering the threshold of consciousness to interact with your sub-personalities. Instead of repressing a feeling, you personify it. You treat your anxiety or anger as a separate entity with a message that needs to be heard. Imagine sitting in a quiet room and inviting your fear to sit in the chair opposite you. You ask it, "What are you trying to protect me from?" You might find it is a frightened child, not a monster. You negotiate with it rather than fighting it. This practice makes you the director of your internal boardroom. You stop being the victim of your moods and start leading them. You integrate the energy of the unconscious, turning your inner enemies into allies that support your transformation. Self-transformation is not a weekend project. It is a biological and psychological overhaul that requires you to endure the discomfort of the neutral zone, that space between who you were and who you are becoming. But the science is clear. You are built for this. If you feel this video helped you understand yourself better, please subscribe to our channel. Your support allows us to keep exploring the depths of the human mind.